Hi, my name is Heather Swan, and welcome to my TED Talk, Self-Acceptance versus the Expectation Dragon. From the minute we are born to the minute we pass away, every single one of us is looking for our place in the world, that one place where we feel complete, loved, wanted. Everyone wants to be accepted. But in today's turbulent state, is that sort of peace even possible? With ads destroying what little self-confidence we as people have, politicians who would like nothing more than to keep the masses divided, and the millions of other distractions that plague us day to day, how can a person even hope to find themselves among the masses of everyone else? How can any kid, for that matter? This can be especially true for the unique and more unusual members of society, as anything from the color of someone's skin to a boy wearing nail polish can cause overzealous social upheaval, and none know this better than the LGBTQ community, whether it be from various not quite open religions, random strangers with uneducated fear in their eyes and violence in their fists, or even, sadly, one's own family, turning their backs on them. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't ways to grow and accept yourself. Everyone is a little different after all, and it's those differences that help us determine the small parts of ourselves that make us into one whole person. Take me, for example. I can't dance to save my life, but I can make things with my hands, like painting and sewing, and that works for me. The characters in the book Princess and Princess were pretty familiar with this as well, none really seeming to fit into the roles they were given, like Princess Amira, who's more interested in becoming a true hero, or her companion, Princess Sadie, who has no desire to become queen or be skinny like her sister. But of course, nothing is ever quite so easy, and the more people they meet along their journey, it becomes more obvious how different the pair are from the norm. How can a princess ever be a hero, or an ogre anything more than a monster? These are the expectations placed on them, much like the pressure to conform every kid faces as they grow, and the book shows exactly how damaging those kinds of confining molds can be. In another story called Annie's Plaid Shirt, this concept is a lot more plain, as the little girl in the book doesn't want to wear a dress like the other girls, as she'd much rather wear her favorite plaid shirt. Her mother, though well-meaning, doesn't agree, trying to save her family from the supposed judgment of others by forcing her daughter into a dress for her uncle's wedding. No one is happy with this, as Annie's mother hurts her feelings terribly by not listening to her daughter's discontent and instead making her into something she's not, all because she's ashamed of what people might think. A rather dark situation for a little kid to be forced into, but that's thankfully rectified when her mom realizes her own guilt at hurting her daughter's feelings, and the children's quick thinking at making a new outfit for Annie to feel much more comfortable in, and still stylish. This goes on to prove for kids that while it's important to compromise with others, it's more important to stay true to what makes you happy in the end. Of course, a bigger part of both these stories, and the world in general, is the lack of representation of more than just the norms of society. How can anyone really be expected to know themselves when they've never seen someone like them? There's a relief in knowing who you are, of having a word or a decent representation for something you never even knew existed that describes you perfectly. The ogre in Princess and Princess, despite looking and seeming like a terrible monster, was really only dancing, trying to express himself in a way he felt he needed to, only not knowing the safe way to do it since he'd never been taught. Until Princess Sadie saw past his demeanor of what he truly was, of course. Would Annie's mother have been more willing to compromise on the dress had there been more examples of women wearing suits like her daughter ended up doing? It's a question we can't really answer for the simple fact that the lack of LGBTQ materials, or any materials past what's based on a normal white upper-class family, are what does exist isn't normally a good example for anyone, let alone kids. Stories that turn gay men into the comedic sidekicks, lesbian women as tragic star-crossed lovers, and anything beyond that is just unheard of. Even with the new increase in diversity teaching in schools the last few years, these stereotypes still seem to dominate the story, leaving so many questions without proper answers and mirrors where the reflection is less than desirable. This leaves children to look to their teachers and parents, trying to find some way to resolve their feelings with what they are still learning from the world around them. But with so little experience of their own, What was once love can turn into something far more constraining as caregivers struggle to use their own learned knowledge to bend their children to what they think is right, instead of letting them simply be what they are. In Bloom, for example, it isn't until Aerie meets Hector, the new worker for his family's bakery, that he finally starts to find himself again, much to his parents' relief. As before, he refused any attempts to even let them into his life for fear of judgment. Sometimes the biggest thing we can do for anyone else is to support them as they grow, helping where we can, and most of all, accepting them for who they are. With support instead of rejection, there's no telling what someone can accomplish, especially with something so intimate as being part of the LGBTQ community. For Annie, it was pairing her favorite shirt with that of a fancy suit, making everyone happy in the end. In Bloom and in Princess and Princess, it's the discovery of it being okay to be yourself, as someone would always be there to support you. In The Princess and the Dressmaker, this is especially true, as despite all the trouble Prince Sebastian gets into for following his heart and donning himself in beautiful dresses, with his friend and dressmaker Francis's support, both their dreams are eventually realized. The pair not only set the world ablaze with their inspiring new fashions, but Sebastian's own family, once so against their son's peculiar habit, instead support him and his friend completely, even his incredibly traditional father. Sebastian's father even goes so far as to put on a dress for his son in hopes of making up for the horrible way he behaved once he found out his only child cross-dressed. It's this support that is so desperately needed for kids to see, and even adults, as they work to unravel the truth about who they truly are and accept it, and what makes books like these so very important. Each of these books share the same theme, after all, that in diversity and acceptance, beauty and love can bloom into something incredible. Despite the imposing dragon that is society and the many pitfalls that come with a lack of proper representation or even support when it comes to being different, finding acceptance in yourself and for others is more than worth the fight. For no one can live your life, despite how hard they try, as it's yours and yours alone. So never forget to love yourself.